Action tomorrow evening with their first warm-up game of the season. The match is against old rivals, the Cardiff Red Devils, run by former Pirate Johnny Lawless. Face-off is at 5:30 at the East of England ice rink. The match is part of the Sports Nationwide Cup competition, in which they'll face the Chelmsford Chieftains tomorrow, also at home. Incidentally, stand by for news of a major new sponsorship deal for the Pirates.
The Peterborough Pirates ice hockey side kicked off the new season last night with a match against the Cardiff Devils in the Sports Nationwide Cup. Simon Potter watched the match for us.
Pirates 5, Cardiff Devils 8. And the one telling factor was the amount of penalties the Peterborough side had to serve. They were one man short for at least two-thirds of the playing time. Pirates led 3-2 after the first period, though, thanks to 2 goals from Todd Bidner and a brilliant third from Tim Peacock. Then it was 4-all after the second period. Impressive debuts from some of the new faces in the Pirates lineup, notably Mark Slater and England international Peter Smith, and a superb performance from netminder Chris Newton, playing his first full match since January. Cardiff, though, are a Premier Division side in the making and deserve their win. Pirates 5, Devils 8.
Ice hockey side notched up their first win of the season last night, but only by the skin of their teeth, as Simon Potter reports.
Pirates 7, Chelmsford Chieftains 6. A lacklustre performance from the Pirates against a team 2 divisions below them, entering only their second season of competitive hockey. Coach Gary Unger, writing in the programme, had said, "There's no way we'd want to embarrass them with a large score, but for a lot of the match, the supporters couldn't help but think it was going to be the Pirates who would end up embarrassed." Granted, Pirates were without half a dozen key players, but they never dominated the match like they should have done. Todd Bidner 2+3, Peter Smith 2+2, but full credit going to Chieftains netminder Mike Sheed, who was excellent. Pirates 7, Chelmsford 6. And the Norwich Union Cup. Before looking forward to that match, let's have a word about new import Wayne Crawford, who dazzled the home crowd last Sunday in his home debut by scoring 5 out of the Pirates' 8 goals against Slough, and one of those was short-handed. Gary Unger, head coach.
Well, I don't think you've really even seen what he's going to be like this season, because I know that he's got very, very good hands. He's very smart. He never gets himself into difficult situations. He knows where he's going on the ice, which is the sign of a true pro. Todd is the same way, but I think Wayne is a little bit more defensive-minded at times when he doesn't have the puck. They play very well together, which is a key to getting your imports. Todd and Wayne just hit it off, and then to put in a guy like Peter Smith, it really makes it easy for Wayne to come in and play. But on the whole, he's a very, very smart hockey player, but I know that he's a long way from where he wants to be. He works hard and he's going to get there, but I think he's still a month away from being the type of player that he wants to be.
The group after 3 matches. They've got 3 wins from 3 games. Streatham have 3 wins and a loss from 4. Solihull 2 wins and a loss from 3. And Slough and Telford 3 losses from 3 games each. But being top of the group gives the other teams an incentive to knock you down. Head coach Gary Unger.
Well, definitely we're not going to go into any games this year. It doesn't matter who we're playing and have an easy game. Even if we're playing a lower division club, they're going to be ready for us, because they know that we've got a pretty good team together now here, and that's what I'm trying to instill in the players, is that they have to come into the games, whether we're playing supposedly a lower type club, first division, Telford, Slough, teams like this, because if we're not at the top of our game, these teams love to knock other teams off. It's just like when we played Durham a couple of years ago. They weren't ready for us. Durham was expecting to come in and have a simple game, and all of a sudden it was too late. So we got to get ourselves out of that situation and stay on the top.
So, Saturday, let's talk about Saturday first. Solihull, the old rivals, they've had a pretty tough summer, haven't they?
Well, they have. I think they've got a little bit of internal problems. I know they've had some problems with their imports, but no matter what happens, we can't really take for granted that game either, even though they're struggling. They're struggling right now, there's no doubt about that, but you know that they're going to come in here and be playing at the top of their game because of the Paul Heavey and Peter Smith deal. So we're going to have to be ready. There's going to be probably a lot of people. It's close. There's been a lot of talk back and forth from the summertime, and it's going to be a pretty high tempo game.
Must be looking forward to it.
Well, I really am. I think we want to get playing some more of these Premier Division clubs so we have a little bit more of an idea of what we're up against. Also, I think we're at this particular point, we're almost at times playing as good as we have to. And the better competition that we're going to have, the better we're going to play, and the stronger we're going to get. So I'm looking forward to playing the better teams.
So on Sunday, you're back down at Streatham. They were here last weekend. Without Kurt Wickenheiser, is he back for this weekend?
I think he's going to be back this weekend. It'll be a far different game than it was up here, especially because they know they're building pretty well. It's always more difficult going in somebody else's rink, playing on the road, as we say. But you can't take them for granted either. They've got a good, young, solid hockey club. They've got some good young players that are on that second line, and their imports played quite well without Wickenheiser last week, so that he's going to be back. So that's another threat, another goal-scoring threat. He's good for 2 or 3 goals a game, so that means that we got to score 2 or 3 more ourselves. But I'm still working on the defense. I still, even though we won the game on the weekend, I wasn't happy with getting 8 goals scored against us. That part of the game I wasn't happy with, so we're going to be working on that.
A couple of changes in the lineup this week. You've lost one player, gained another one back from Canada.
Jim Ryan is back now. He's tried out for about 3 different teams in Canada, had an opportunity to stay, but it's very difficult over there because you have to be making some money to be able to buy food and things. The junior clubs, unless you're really a top junior, it's still an amateur league, so they're not allowed to pay any money. They can only pay some place to stay. But he'll be a good acquisition for us. Turkey Walker is going to still be with the team for the weekend. He's going to Lee Valley with our blessings, because I think that he'll go down there and he'll do well for them. He wants to play with the team that we've got this year. I was going to use him mainly as an assistant coach and working with the guys and that, but he still wants to play, so I think it's a good opportunity for him to do that. So he'll still be here this weekend, but after the weekend he's going to Lee Valley.
Must be going to miss him. Must be one of the most experienced British players in the game.
Well, he really is, and he's Turkey is a lot more to the hockey club than just going on the ice and trying to play a game on the ice. He's good in the dressing room. He's good with the young players. He's smart about the game. He's been in the game a long time, and we're really going to miss him. I hate to see the guy go, but I also know what it's like to sit on the end of the bench and not play. It's really strong, and it's really tough for a guy, especially when you're a competitor like Turkey is. And I wish him all the best.
Peterborough Pirates ice hockey with Gary Younger.
The Peterborough Pirates picked up their 4th win from 4 Norwich Union Cup games last night, and they did so in fine style, as Simon Potter reports.
Peterborough Pirates 15, Solihull Barons 8. Barons are a team in decline, having lost 2 of their top British players to Peterborough in the summer, and their top import Jim Main, who walked out this week, and they don't like being on the receiving end. As Pirates race to a 12-1 lead, the punch-ups flared, culminating in Barons goaltender storming off the ice with a match penalty. 5-1 to Pirates after the first period, 12-3 after the second. High scorers for Pirates included Wayne Crawford with 4 goals and 1 assist, Todd Bidner 3 and 2, Peter Smith 1 and 3, Tim Peacock 2+0. Pirates 15, Solihull Barons 8.
Hockey, the Peterborough Pirates kept up this season's winning ways last night, making it 5 wins out of 5 in the Norwich Union Cup. This report from Simon Potter.
Streatham Redskins 9, Peterborough Pirates 10, and that puts Pirates 4 points clear of the top of their group in the Cup, making it look certain for a place in the finals. Pirates won the first period 3-2, but were 6-5 down after the second in a very exciting match. It was 9-all until there were just under 5.5 minutes on the clock when Todd Bidner got the winner. In all, he scored 3 goals and 4 assists, whilst Wayne Crawford got 5 and 2. Stratham's danger man, Kurt Wickenheiser, had to go off after 10 minutes with a recurrence of his ankle injury, but a win's a win, and Pirates got it. Streatham 9, Peterborough 10. Hockey and the Peterborough Pirates, who play Telford Tigers at home on Sunday. It's a Norwich Union Cup tie in the Southern Division, which Pirates currently lead with 5 wins from 5 matches. What's more, all of the games have been fairly close, which Pirates coach Gary Younger is glad of.
One thing about sports, you don't want to have your highs too high and your lows too low, if you can help it. You have to take everything in perspective. We've played Solihull, we've played Streatham, which are our Premier Division clubs. The other ones are First Division clubs. We definitely are on the right track, but I don't want to get false security because of the Norwich Union Cup, that some of the teams that we're playing are going to be far better in the league. Fifes, Murrayfields, Durham's, teams like that. So we're going to have to pick up our game. But a lot of times when you're involved with teams, you seem to play as good as you have to, and that seems to be the situation we are now. I know that we've got a few more gears left. We're probably only playing about 65% of our ability, and we need to be pushed a little bit. I actually wish that Durham and Whitley were in our Norwich Union Cup division. But as it is, we've got it the way it is, so we'll have to put up with it. But we've got a long way to go yet.
So it's Telford Tigers this Sunday here at the East of England Ice Rink. You played them in the playoffs at the end of last season. You played them at Altrincham. You've played them in the Norwich Union Cup. Must be getting fed up with the sight of them.
Well, they're one of our rivals, that's for sure. We've really met them a lot. I think both of us know each other as well as any team could know one another, but at this particular point, I think we have a little bit of an edge. If we can win this game this weekend, it'll take a little bit of pressure off us because we'll have already clinched a playoff spot. So it will give me an opportunity for the following weekend with the 2 games against Slough and Solihull to probably go with 3 lines or even rest a few guys.
So last time the two sides met, you were without a couple of leading players. Were they the same team then that they will be at the weekend?
I think Telford will be better because their imports have been playing a little bit longer over here. They'll be in better condition. They're both goal scorers, and it takes time to get your timing down as far as goal scoring. I saw Kevin Conway in the game that we played up there miss a couple of goals that at the end of the season last year he wouldn't have done. So those are the little things that are going to be getting better with their team. As far as our team is concerned, we've got Kenny McDonald back now. We've got Jason Wood as a goaltender, an extra goaltender. And I think the amount of time that we've played together as a team is starting to help. Guys are practicing a little bit more together. So both teams, I think, are going to be strengthened to a little bit better degree than they were last time.
Gary Younger of the Peterborough Pirates.
Peterborough Pirates suffered their first taste of defeat this season last night. They lost to Telford in the Norwich Union Cup. Simon Potter watched the match.
Pirates 10, Telford Tigers 11. A tense game played in front of an electric atmosphere. Pirates lost the first period 4-2, tied the second 5-all, but couldn't quite run out with a victory despite going into a power play situation 44 seconds from time. Top Binner top scorer with 3 goals and 2 assists. Wayne Crawford, suffering from some kind of virus, added 3 and 1. Chris McCauley 2 and 2. Carl Stripling 2 and 0. But Pirates gave away too many easy goals and have only themselves to blame for losing. A bad temper game in places, but possibly the most exciting in the Norwich Union Cup so far. Pirates 10, Telford Tigers 11.
Pirates, though, are still on course to win their group after Telford beat closest rivals Streatham 19-8 on Saturday night. Peterborough Titans, the city's second team, had a disastrous night in the English League Cup. They lost to the newly formed Humberside Seahawks 32-5.
Solihull team this weekend, hopefully. I mean, if they're beating these other teams, they've got to have something going for them, so we can't take anything for granted. We've got to go out there and work pretty hard this weekend.
Paul Heavey still suspended, or is he back playing?
Paul Heavey will be suspended for the first match against Slough, and he'll be back on Sunday night for Solihull. Tim Peacock has got thrown out of the game last week, but that's only 3 points, so he doesn't miss a game for that. He's got 2 more points. The next 2 points he gets, he misses 1 game.
And nobody else is out this weekend?
No, I'm going to cut back on Wayne Crawford's ice time a little bit. I'm going to try and get him a little more healthier. He's got a little bit of an injury. I really would not want it to get out what kind of an injury he's got, because it's something where the other team could pick up on and maybe try and go after him in that particular spot. But he hasn't been playing up to 100% over the last 3 weeks. We try and keep it as quiet as possible, but sometimes that's difficult because if the supporters don't know that the guy's hurting and he goes out and he's staying away from checks and he's, sitting back a little bit, they say, oh, what's wrong with him? But, he has been hurting a little bit, and I hope to get him back healthy again in the next little while.
The Peterborough Pirates virtually guaranteed their place in the Norwich Union Cup final last night. Simon Potter reports from Slough.
Slough Jets 8, Peterborough Pirates 14. So only if Pirates lose to Solihull by 10 goals tonight will they not qualify, and that hardly seems likely. Wayne Crawford, despite nursing a nagging injury, top scored with 5 goals and 4 assists. Todd Bidner 4 and 5. Chris McCauley with season best figures of 3 and 4. Pirates won the first period 6-3, but Slough pulled back to 6-all at one stage before running out of steam. They were only icing 2 imports. But then it was 12-7 to Pirates by the end of the second period. And that final score, Slough Jets 8, Pirates 14.
Pirates won their way into the final of the Norwich Union Cup for the first time in their history last night, beating the Solihull Barons away from home. This report from Simon Potter.
Solihull Barons 7, Peterborough Pirates 9, which gives Pirates the record of played 8, won 7, lost 1, and a place in the English final against Durham Wasps. Pirates won the first period 3-2, but were trailing 6-5 after the second, and that's really the story of the whole match. Close and hard fought all the way. In fact, Solihull were leading 7-5 at one stage before the Pirates hit back with one final burst of determination. Todd Bidner hit top form with 4 goals and 1 assist. Wayne Crawford 2-5, former Baron Peter Smith 2-1. The other goal scored by Kenny MacDonald. Solihull Barons 7, Peterborough Pirates 9. Peterborough Pirates, who should have been opening their Heineken League campaign on Sunday with a home match against the mighty Murrayfield Racers. But Murrayfield are playing a European Cup tie in Hungary on Saturday against a team I'm not going to try and pronounce, and so that game's off. But the Pirates are playing on Sunday. Head coach Gary Younger.
Well, we have a challenge match against Slough. One of the reasons why we had the challenge match originally was we didn't want a weekend open. But then after Paul Heavey got his suspension, the league said that because it was a league's fixture to start with, we could use it as one of the suspension games. So that's one good thing about it. And it'll give me an opportunity to play a lot of guys, 3 lines and that type of thing.
I was just going to say, is it going to be a game to get the youngsters a chance?
Oh, definitely. Jason Wood's going to start in net again for us. And I'm going to try and, like I say, play 3 lines, depending on how the game goes. The last time we played up in Slough, Wayne and Todd didn't play the third period, so now looking at the scoring statistics, they're mad at me because he probably could have won the scoring championship for the Autumn Cup had I let him play. But the team is the most important thing, and I think they realise that, and we're going to go from there.
Talking of that Autumn Cup, it's an English final place now against Durham. They're going to be quite some opposition, aren't they?
Well, Durham is always a strong hockey club. They've got a good young team. They play well together. They got 3 pretty good imports this year. And I hope to play him. I hope Paul Heavey's back in the lineup when we do play him because we need the strength on defense. And if he isn't, well, we'll just have to do our best. But we've beat them before. And if we play the way we can, there's no doubt in my mind that we can't beat them.
So the Heineken League starts this weekend, without you playing, of course, in this first weekend. Bookmakers say that it's going to be Murrayfield and Fife at the end of the season. Would you agree with that?
I'd have to say right now, from all the reports that I've heard, that Murrayfield is going to have the best team in the league this year. I've heard a lot of good reports about the Czechoslovakians, and Fife has the type of team that sometimes doesn't get up for all the big games. Murrayfield, with their better class of imports this year and the amount of British players that they've got are going to be very tough to beat. And there's another rumor going around that Chris Kellen may be reclassified, so they may even be able to get another import. So you're really talking about a strong team there if that happens. So I think the reports are probably right. Automatically they overlook any of the new teams coming in. I consider ours as a new team, and don't count us out.
Playoff place then for the Pirates this year.
I'm counting on it.
Couldn't start their Heineken League campaign this weekend because first opponents Murrayfield were involved in a European Cup tie. Instead, they arranged a challenge match against Slough, as Simon Potter reports.
Pirates 11, Slough Jets 9. Not the most exciting of matches. As a challenge match, it was an opportunity for Pirates to play a few of the younger players. A promising home debut for teenage goaltender Jason Wood, and young Jason Porter fared well too. But the overriding theme of the match was that Pirates' defence is still shaky at the best of times. Man of the match Peter Smith top scored with 3 goals and 2 assists. Kenny McKee added a hat-trick. The most stunning fact, though, was that Peterborough didn't get a minute in penalties. An exciting last 5 minutes culminated in Chris McCauley scoring from within Pirates' own blue line after Slough had withdrawn their goaltender. Pirates 11, Slough Jets 9.
And the city's second team, the Peterborough Titans, got off to a poor start in their English Division 1 campaign last night. They came back from a visit to the Bracknell Bees, having lost 21-6. News now, and Peterborough Pirates captain Paul Heavey has been granted an appeal against his 10-match ban for deliberately attempting to injure an opponent. The appeal will be heard on Monday, and if it's successful, it could mean that Heavey can play for the Pirates in the Norwich Union English Cup final on Tuesday night.
To Solihull and away to Streatham in the build-up to the English final in the Norwich Union Cup on Tuesday night. And there's good news in the Pirates camp this weekend. Jim Ryan's back on Monday, and Paul Heavey, currently midway through a 10-match suspension for a deliberate attempt to injure call, might get a reprieve, says head coach Gary Younger.
Well, we're hoping. We finally got an appeals hearing, and we've got it set up for Monday night in Oxford. If they're looking at a hearing, they must be looking at the case close enough to warrant maybe a change. He's already sat out 5 games. I said that I could live with 6 because that's what everybody else in the league is getting, 6-game suspension. if that's the case, then we play 2 games this weekend. I'd like to have the hearing on Saturday. I'm not saying which way the hearing would go, because that wouldn't be determined until a hearing was there. But like I said, if there was a chance that they'd say, hey, maybe it is 6 games, then maybe there's a chance you could play Sunday. But I don't know if we can get all the guys together. I've offered to pay their way up to Peterborough to watch the game on Saturday night and have the hearing here Saturday afternoon, and then tell us what's going on. But if not, at least we've got a hearing before the Durham match on Tuesday.
So there is a good chance you'll play against Durham, if not in the first leg, certainly the second?
If not in this first leg, and yeah, you're right, in the second leg for sure.
Good. So this weekend, it's Heineken League time at long last, a couple of weeks behind everybody else. Familiar old names, though, aren't they? Solihull and Streatham. First of all, Solihull. They've lost virtually all of their players. Their goalkeeper's been banned for the season. Who have they got left?
Well, actually, I was really impressed with Solihull the last time we played them. Now, I think they've made a couple of changes in some imports, but they work really hard. Even though they've lost a lot of games this year, they still have that extra jump that they need in a game. When they played against us that last game of the Norwich Union Cup, they were playing pretty well. They were flying. And I look to Solihull to come out in the league stronger than they did in the Norwich Union Cup. So I'm not really overlooking any games. I'm not overlooking and saying, oh, Solihull, I'm looking at their record from the season. You can't do that, because you end up taking them for granted. We've got to go out there with the idea of anybody at any given time can beat anybody. The guy that's going to win is going to work the hardest. And if we work harder than any team that we're playing against, whether it's Solihull or Murrayfield, we're going to beat them. And if we relax against any of the teams, be it Solihull or Murrayfield, we're going to lose. And I don't care whether you're playing, like I say, Solihull. You have to go out there with the idea. And the guys have got a good attitude. Everybody's pumped up for the weekend. They're waiting for the cup to, for the league to start. Now that we're in the playoffs, we've got a good winning attitude. So we're looking for a good weekend.
And then Streatham down there on Sunday. Is it a problem playing the same old teams you've played in the Norwich Union Cup twice already? Or would you rather have fresh opposition for the first weekend in the league?
Well, you can look at it both ways. If we had fresh opposition, we'd be probably a little more keyed up. But I think having played the teams before and knowing them, it can work in two ways. One way that you can say, well, we beat them twice, so it's not going to be that tough a game. Or you can say, listen, we only beat them in the Norwich Union Cup. Now the league starts, they're going to be a better team. And I feel they are, because Wickenheiser has been out, only played part of the game that we played up there. He's a very good player, good goal scorer. And I think that playing up in any time you play in somebody else's building, those are bonus points for you. The home team is expected to win. We hope to win all our home games for sure, and then if we win games on the road, that's an added bonus. So we're going to go in there again with the idea of winning it, but still knowing that we're going to be in a tough match.
Any word from Jim Ryan? Been up in Scotland for the last week or two.
Well, another good day. Actually, this has probably been the best day as far as I've had in a long time. Jim Ryan is going to be back in Peterborough on Monday. So that's good news. I feel that Jim Ryan is still a good young hockey player. His attitude just went a little bit out the window, but it's time that we sat down face to face rather than sit down over the phone and talk back and forth. I think we can probably iron it out.
Gary Unger of Peterborough Pirates news. And let's start with the result from the East of England ice rink. Pirates 15, Solihull Barons 5. And what a way to start the new Heineken League campaign. The biggest win of the season, and a bigger win than any last season too. Pirates were all over the opposition, winning the first period 5-2, the second 7-2. The third period was won by Peterborough 3-1, but in that period Pirates' passing became more sloppy and Solihull's goaltender really sprang into life. Wayne Crawford top scored, somewhat predictably, with 5 goals and 3 assists. Todd Bidner on top form got 4 and 3, Chris McCauley 3 and 4. The other goals scored by Tim Peacock, Kenny McKee, Carl Stripling. Pirates are off to a flying start in the league then, and on this form they really ought to beat Durham Wasps in the English Cup final first leg at the East of England ice rink on Tuesday night. Face-off there is 8 o'clock. This evening's score though, Pirates 15, Solihull Barons 5. Other scores tonight in the Premier Division: Ayr 2, Nottingham 14, Durham 14, Streatham 4 and Fife 8. Murrayfield 6. In Division 1, Romford 9, Deeside 13, Swindon 17, Trafford 11. And one score from the English First Division, well, a sort of score. Peterborough Titans were playing the Oxford City Stars at Oxford Ice Rink tonight. Trouble is, Oxford Ice Rink don't know the score. I phoned up and asked, and they said, all we know is Oxford won. Simon Potter at the sports desk. And let's start with the ice hockey news. Streatham Redskins 6, Peterborough Pirates 9. Pirates won the first period 4-2, then the second 4-3 before tying the third at a goal apiece. Streatham, to give them their due, was struggling with injury problems. Last year's top goal scorer Kurt Wickenheiser still out of the side, and they lost Ian Doley and Steve James with injuries during the match tonight. The match swung like a pendulum. Pirates are 5-2 up at one stage before Streatham struck back with 3 unanswered goals to level it at 5-all with 30-34 goal on the clock. Pirates then hit 3 straight goals themselves to lead 8-5 by the end of the second period. Todd Bidner and Wayne Crawford led the way with 2+3 and 3+1 respectively, and there were 2 goals each for Chris McCauley and Kenny McKee. Redskins 6, Pirates 9. Other results in the Premier Division: Murrayfield Racers 7, Nottingham Panthers 1, Solihull Barons 4, Fife Flyers 9. In Division 1, Cardiff 6, Medway 5, Glasgow 11, Slough 12, Richmond 4, Deeside 11. And in the English Division 1, it's bad news for the Titans. They lost 23-5.
Tonight in this year's ice hockey season tonight as they entertain the Durham Wasps in the first leg of the English final of this year's Norwich Union Cup. Durham currently hold the trophy, but with so many changes to the Peterborough side since last year, head coach Gary Unger reckons it's going to be a closer match than last season's. Then again, he adds, Durham have strengthened their squad too.
I think they've got a better team than they had last year, because I think their third import is better than their third import last year. The only place they're going to fall down, the guy that they're really going to miss is Stephen Cooper back on defence. But then again, like I say, with the amount of young players that they've got in their organisation, they may have somebody to fill in. I think that's going to bring the best out of our team. I think our team is going to be brought up. Their game is going to come up for that game.
But Captain Paul Heavey won't be playing for the Pirates tonight. At a disciplinary hearing last night in Oxford, his suspension for deliberately attempting to injure an opponent was cut, but only from 10 to 8 matches. Tonight's will be the 8th match of that ban. And the face-off tonight at the East of England ice rink is at 8 o'clock. Hockey, and in the English final of the Norwich Union Cup, the Peterborough Pirates pulled off the most incredible comeback last night to tie with the Durham Wasps. This report from Simon Potter.
Pirates 7, Durham Wasps 7, and even though the game ended in a tie, the night belonged to the Peterborough Pirates. Trailing 6-1 after the first period, it looked as though a thrashing was on the cards, but the home side pulled through, winning the second period 3-1 and the third 3-0. The game was played at an incredible pace. Fast and furious hardly described the action, as head coach of the Pirates, Gary Unger, agreed.
After the first period, that was probably the best game that I've seen over here, up and down, both teams going, lots of hard checking, great refereeing, and the excitement was electric. I mean, it was a fantastic hockey game.
Goaltender Chris Newton played an absolute blinder in the second and third periods and almost single-handedly saved the day for Peterborough. Man of the match, though, was Wayne Crawford, who only had the crowd to thank for his performance.
Oh, absolutely fantastic. This is something that I've never really experienced, even back in North America, 8 years of professional hockey. We have 5,000 and 6,000, 10,000 fans at games, and I don't think they're as loud and enthusiastic as the supporters here, and it's, I enjoy that to the most.
Crawford scored 4 goals and 1 assist. Chris McCauley 2 and 3, Todd Bidner 1 and 2, Peter Smith, Norton 4, Mark Slater, Norton 1. The second leg's in Durham next Tuesday, but last night's score, Pirates 7, Durham Wasps 7. And after the exhilaration of Tuesday's English Cup final in the Norwich Union Cup, when Pirates came back from 6-1 down to tie 7-all with the Durham Wasps, Pirates are back in league action on Sunday at home to the Nottingham Panthers.
Well, Nottingham have always had fairly strong British players, but the British players have to be complemented by good imports. I think Kurtenbach is a good import for them, but they've been having some trouble getting the other 2 imports in place, and that's really a struggle, because I know what it's like even last year when we didn't have our third import in place. You don't learn to play with one another over the period of the Norwich Union Cup, and when the league hits, you're a step behind. And I think it's something that we wanted to avoid this year, and I see it happening with a couple of other teams, Solihull, Nottingham, even Streatham. And it certainly is a deterrent to a slow start in the season.
You're still a bit croaky from Tuesday night's incredible match against Durham. How about the rest of the team, though? Is it going to be difficult coming down to earth again for a league fixture?
No, I don't think so. I think we just kind of realize now what potential that we do have. I think we have to be very careful of overlooking Nottingham and looking to the Durham game on Tuesday, even though that is important. But we do have a game in between. Nottingham is very important. We have to win that game. We have to win all our games against the league clubs that we can. like I was explaining before, is that if we go out there with the idea that we're just going to throw our sticks out on the ice and not work hard, Nottingham could beat us. We have to be prepared.
It's always been a very packed house when you've played Nottingham in the past. That helps you, doesn't it?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. We enjoy to play that way, and also we enjoy to play on the road. A lot of teams are home teams. We don't want to lose a game in our building all year if we can help it. But we don't have any preference as far as playing on the roads. I played on a lot of teams where guys didn't like to play on the road, but this team loves to play on the road. So anytime you can win games in another team's building, it's a bonus for you, and we're looking to pick up a lot of points away from Peterborough this year.
Wayne Crawford on Tuesday, having been man of the match, told me afterwards that it was the fans that helped win the game. He reckoned that 2,500 here made more noise than 10,500 back in Canada. They really are a tremendous bunch, aren't they?
Well, it's no doubt about it. To put it into perspective, I've played in front of crowds of 20,000, 18,000, where the rinks are full. And it's really no different than being here for a full packed capacity house, even though it only holds 2,500 people. The enthusiasm is there. They're behind the club. The thing that I was really aware of and happy about was the fact that when we were 6-1 down, they were still behind us. There's times when you feel like, we're in trouble because everybody thinks we're going to lose the game. I don't think that everybody had the confidence that the team had and knew that we were going to come back, but I think they at least felt that we had more to show than we did, and they were going to stay behind us. That's a big boost for the club, and when you know that everybody is behind you, you can go out there with a lot of confidence yourself.
It's coming up to 10:30. This is Simon Potter at the Sports Desk with news of tonight's ice hockey. And the Peterborough Pirates 6, Nottingham Panthers 6. So Pirates keep their unbeaten record in the league, but they're left with a sour taste in the mouth after some of the most appalling refereeing, which left Wayne Crawford with a match misconduct penalty, putting him out of Tuesday's second leg of the English Cup final against Durham. Todd Bidner opened the scoring for Pirates after just 58 seconds, and that's how the first period ended, 1-0 to Peterborough. In the second period, the game came alive. Nottingham scored 3 goals in 1 minute and 5 seconds. Then Pirates got 3 in 1 minute 40 to leave the score at the end of the second period, 5-4 to Peterborough. The game was tied at 6 apiece, though, with Nottingham getting the equaliser at 57-45. For Peterborough, Peter Smith, 3 goals and 1 assist, but he limped off bleeding badly from a facial wound. Wayne Crawford suffering from flu, and Todd Bidner 1+2 each. The final score, Peterborough Pirates 6, Nottingham Panthers 6. Other scores from around the country now, Durham Wasps 14, Solihull Barons 5. Murrayfield Racers 18, Streatham Redskins 8, Whitley Warriors 11, Tayside Tigers 7.
Okay, the Peterborough Pirates are up in the northeast today for the second leg of their English final in this year's Norwich Union Cup against the Durham Wasps. Pirates pulled off a sensational comeback in the first leg last week as they tied the match at 7-all, having been 6-1 down after the first period. Despite Durham's awesome reputation, Pirates coach Gary Unger reckons they do have a chance tonight.
As far as I'm concerned, the team that works the hardest in the game is going to win. Talent-wise, both teams are about the same. I think we've got better imports than they do. I guess the first statement was wrong. I think we got a better team than they do. But we have to work harder than they do. I think we're in better shape than they are.
Down bravely in their attempt to beat the Durham Wasps in the English final of this year's Norwich Union Cup yesterday. Simon Potter reports from Durham Ice Rink.
We're all over the ice. 7-2 after the first period, 12-3 after the second. Pirates put up little effective fight. Their goals from Todd Bidner, Chris McCauley and Grant Slater, his first for Peterborough. Paul Heavey was out injured. Wayne Crawford sidelined for the last period with flu, and Chris Newton and Tim Peacock arrived late through difficulties in getting the time off work. The whole night was a disaster. Durham Wasps 17, Peterborough Pirates 3.
Hockey. This weekend's matches for the Peterborough Pirates are both away against the Fife Flyers on Saturday and the Tayside, formerly Dundee Tigers, on Sunday. I've been talking to coach Gary Unger, as usual, and first touched upon the injury problems faced by captain Paul Heavey and star import Wayne Crawford.
I think Wayne, I spent all day today with Wayne getting him to the doctor and having him checked over, because it's quite important to me whether he plays or whether he doesn't, because if he doesn't play, then I'll probably step in and play. At this point, the doctor looked at it. He's got a little bit of a sore. He's had sore ribs from before, and I think it's caused some swelling in there. and the doctor said that he could take care of it in the next 2 days and that it wouldn't hurt him for the future. The thing that you have to be careful about with injuries, and the reason why I haven't played Paul Heavey up to this point, is if Paul goes out and gets hit the wrong way, he'll be back a month. He'll be out for another month. I'd rather get him strong enough so that he can play his game properly. I'd rather him miss a couple of games, say this weekend even, and have him strong for the following weekend, rather than try and get him in too early this weekend, hurt himself, and then have him out for another 2 months. I don't want to do that. But as it looks right now, I think it'll be better up on the big ice surface up in Scotland, because there's not as much body contact on the big ice surface when we're playing on a smaller rink. That's why I didn't put him in Durham, because everybody was running into each other in that rink. It's a small little rink, but I think I may put him out on the ice a few times this weekend. As far as Wayne's concerned, he tells me that he's going to be okay. The doctor says it's okay to play, so at this point we're counting on Wayne to play this weekend.
Just in case he can't, though, you've almost answered this question. You said when you gave up playing to become coach, it's good to have 4 Canadians about in case one's injured. You can go back and play. Are you going to, if he can't play himself?
Well, if he couldn't, I sure would. I think even if I'm only at half strength, 2.5 imports are better than 2. And I probably wouldn't play as much as I did last year. I'm not I practice with the team and all that, but I don't think I'm game fit to play as much as maybe Todd or Chris, but I could certainly take every second shift.
First, the Peterborough Pirates came within a whisker of their first ever win on the Scottish ice last night, for the second time running. Having lost to the bookies' favourites to win the League Fife on Saturday by a margin of 10 goals to 9, they went down to the Tayside Tigers by 5 goals to 4. Wayne Crawford scored 3 of the Pirates' goals and got an assist credit on the other.
Out home to Streatham Redskins on Sunday at their new face-off time of 6 o'clock. Streatham are struggling. They've played 6 and lost 6 in the Premier Division this season, the only side not to have picked up a point all year. First, though, let's talk about last weekend's trip to Scotland. 2 losses, and 2 losses by just 1 goal. 10-9 against Fife, 5-4 against Tayside. And in that Tayside match, Pirates had 44 shots on goal to Tayside's 36. Coach Gary Unger has mixed feelings about those matches.
Well, definitely there's 2 ways to look at it. You can either look at it positively or negatively, and I think at this point you have to look at it in a positive way. Last year, the same team that we played up in Fife, and they beat us 18-3 or something like that. Certainly, I was upset at the time in both games, because there were chances in both games that we could have won both games, put them to rest, but we didn't. But to look at it in the positive aspect, we are coming along. Those are the top teams in the country. Scottish teams are always difficult to go up there and beat in their own building. So on that note, I think that it had to be an okay weekend. I'm not satisfied with it. In fact, I'm very upset with it, because I hate to see points slide away. At this point, we've only lost 2 games this season, so it's not the end of the world.
So, Streatham on Sunday, it's a new face-off time of 6 o'clock as opposed to 6:30. They have got problems, haven't they?
Well, they've got a very young club. I think Streatham in a couple of years will be one of the stronger teams if they can hang on to some of the younger players that they've got. Now with all the new rinks going up, players are going here and there, but at this particular point they've got a very young club. They are struggling, but I'm always afraid of struggling clubs, because sooner or later they're going to come up with one good game, and it really doesn't matter who you're playing. And I'm probably going to repeat myself over and over again every time I go and do an interview, is that it doesn't matter who you're playing. If you don't outwork them, you're going to be into trouble. And if we don't go out with the right attitude and work hard against Stratham this weekend, we could have problems, because just exactly what happened in Dundee last week. As far as I'm concerned, we were a better team than Dundee, but they outworked us. And it got to the point where when we decided that we wanted to turn it on, which we did, they never touched the puck, but their goalie got hot. Chris McCauley hit the post a couple of times. The puck was all around the net, but it didn't go in. You don't want to get yourself into a situation where one little mistake or one goal post or one bad play is going to lose the game for you. We should be far ahead of these teams so we don't have to worry about that.
Fully fit?
Me? Wish I was. Yeah, the team's in good shape. I think everybody, we had a good skate on Tuesday night, and I think everybody's ready to go for the weekend, and I think everybody is disappointed about last weekend, even though we were only 1 goal off, and they're going to come out firing this week.
The League Stretton last night, but as Simon Potter now reports, they could have registered an even bigger victory.
Pirates 13, Streatham Redskins 4, and Peterborough got off to a dream start, 5-0 up within 10 minutes. 2 of those goals scored whilst Pirates were 2 men short. But Streatham edged their way back into the game, and it was 6-3 after the first period. A drab second period saw the score increase to 10-4 in Pirates' favour, and then 3 more goals in the final period clinched that victory. But Peterborough have to sort themselves out. They gave away far too many unnecessary penalties, 28 minutes, twice as many as Streatham. If it hadn't been for that, they could and should have scored 20. Pirates 13, Streatham 4. The Fife Flyers, who started the season as favourites to win the league. The two sides met in Kirkcaldy just a few weeks ago, when Pirates narrowly lost by 10 goals to 9. This time, though, coach Gary Unger reckons a turnaround in fortunes is definitely on the cards.
Well, I'm hoping that the guys, and I know that the guys are keyed up for the game. I think we realize that we let a couple of points slip away, if not one anyhow, up in Fife. They're always tough in their own building. It's a bigger ice surface. Their Czechoslovakian players are pretty good players. But I have all the confidence in the world that if we come out and play the way we can, the way we're capable of playing, there's no doubt in my mind that we can't beat them.
Do the Czech players play a different style of hockey to the rest of the people playing in this league?
Actually, they do. They look for one another a lot, and they don't waste any shots on net. You won't find them winding up from center ice and slapping the puck in the zone. They're like the old Russian style, where they'd come up to the blue line. If there's not a play, they'll circle and hang on to the puck, circle and go back and try again. They like to work the puck in very close and make a perfect play. Actually, it's to our advantage, really, that they play that way, because they've got pretty good shots. But if you can take one or the other away so that they can't pass to one another, I think that's what happened on the big ice surface up there. We didn't really take the other player away. We were letting them free wheel a little bit too much, so we're going to try and stop that this week.
What about their British players? Are they very good too?
Actually, I think their British players are the best in the country. I would equal them with Murrayfield British players. Talent-wise, I don't think you'll find a better team in the league. Just over the last couple of years of seeing them play, I think that they lack a little bit of drive at times. You run into the same problem when you've got a better talented team. They think they can go out on the ice and not work as hard. This year, with 3 different imports, like we were talking about, it may be different. But in past years, I've noticed that they have a tendency to lapse. Also, too, we've got the fact that they've got to travel this time. We travel last time. They've got to travel this time. So we've got an advantage.
Okay. And the scoreline in that Premier Division clash, Peterborough Pirates 7, Fife Flyers 9. But that scoreline does little justice to the actual game. Peterborough dominated large chunks of the play, but were kept out by nothing short of a miracle. So many times they hit the post and were denied by superb goaltending too. Fife's goaltender Martin Mackay rightly won the Man of the Match award. Fife won the first period 2-0 and the second 6-2, and the Pirates really went off the boil. The third was like the first, fast, exciting and dominated by the Pirates, who pulled the score back by hitting 5 more goals to Fife's 1. Wayne Crawford 3 goals and 2 assists, Todd Bidner 2 and 2, the 2 goals scored within 19 seconds. Chris McCauley 1 and 1, Kenny MacDonald got the other goal, and the other assist credits went to Kenny McKee, Kevin King and Peter Smith. Final score, Pirates 7, Fife Flyers 9. Elsewhere tonight, Durham 6, Nottingham 6, Streatham 3, Murrayfield 8 and Whitley Bay 21, Solihull Barons 6.
British ice hockey fans to the city for last night's Premier Division match between Pirates and Fife Flyers. Fife ran out winners 9-7, but afterwards their supporters were the losers when they discovered their coach had been forced open and property worth more than £1,500 stolen. It included jackets, wallets, credit cards, sports bags and other personal possessions. It was 3 o'clock this morning before they were able to return to Scotland after giving police a complete list of the missing property. This hockey team, Kenny Mackay, Kenny MacDonald and Peter Smith, will be heading north today for the first get-together of the squad that will represent Britain in next spring's World Championship. There are 32 players in the squad, which will be whittled down to 21 for the actual competition, and Kenny McKee is hopeful that he'll make the team, having been surprised even to make the squad.
Obviously it feels good, to be honest I didn't think I'd make it this year. I thought, the way things were going, and I didn't feel I was playing particularly well, but naturally very pleased about it and obviously going to give it the best shot.
Reckon you can get in the actual team?
I would suggest that's up to the coaches to decide. I feel I can only do my best. You really can't ask any more of an athlete than to give it his best shot, and obviously.
They're away against Nottingham on Saturday night and at home to Ayr on Sunday. Last Sunday's game against Fife was mainly notable for one thing. Pirates played excellently in the first and third periods, but slumped in the second, and that's where they lost. And because of that, Coach Gary Unger's planning some changes to the lines for this weekend's matches.
Yeah, actually I am. I'd like to have a little more diversity as far as the team is concerned. I think that in a lot of situations, some of the players aren't getting used the way they should be, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put Timmy Peacock up with Todd and Wayne, which would shake Peter Smith loose to play against the other team's second line. Peter's such a fast skater. Also, I think Paul Heavey, the way he handles the puck, and played with Peter before, can move the puck up to him pretty well. So I'm going to play Grant Slater on defense with Chris McCauley on the first line. And then it would be Kenny McKee, Kenny McDonald, and Peter Smith on the second line with Paul Heavey and Mark Slater. So, I mean, it's anything that you do as far as the lines are concerned, it's not written in stone. I mean, it's not to say that because you start the game off and we've had a couple practices with some different lines that it stays that way. It just gives you a little bit more options in your repertoire to be able to move the players around and do different things. And sometimes a player gets a little bit of a boost by, getting on with a different guy once in a while.
Nottingham away on Saturday is going to be a pretty difficult game. I mean, last weekend they tied with both Fife and Durham, the top two teams in the league. Very defensive side, aren't they?
Yes, they are. They play very well. They have two defensemen as far as imports are concerned, which is different than over here. They work very well together. They play well in their own building. They've got good backing. They get about 3,000 people in that rink, so they have the crowd behind them. We have to play more of an aggressive offensive game for us. And I think, as far as I'm concerned, we should beat them. But like I say, they play very well defensively, and our team has a tendency to get frustrated when we don't score a lot of goals in a game. We don't seem to be happy to score maybe 3, 4, 5 goals in a game and win. We get frustrated if we get held back in the first period or this. So we're hoping that through the offense that we've got going for us now, we're going to go in there and maybe get ahead. It won't be as easy for them to play if we can get ahead of them.
Sunday, a home match against Ayr, one of the few sides you haven't actually seen or played against rather this year. Know much about the way they're playing this year?
Actually, I don't. I've heard different reports back and forth. I've talked to teams up in Scotland that have played against them, and I've heard that they've played some really strong games. I know that they were behind one game 9-2 to Murrayfield and came back. The game ended up 11-9, so they've come back in a few games, but I've also heard that they've been blown out a couple of times, so they're a little bit of an unknown quantity, because you can't take the games that they played at home as any indication of how they're playing, because the rink is so crazy. You're playing on a pint-sized rink up there. It's a half curling rink, and the scores that come out of there sometimes are totally ridiculous. So you get them on a big ice surface, and it's different. I do know one thing, though, that Rocky Saginaw, one of their imports, is now behind the bench, and they've got a new import in from Boston College. I don't know his name, but I know that they've changed imports. So it's going to be a good game for us. We should win both games this weekend. We're counting on winning both games this weekend. It's a must for us.
Pirates coach Gary Unger. And
the Pirates ice hockey team beat the Ayr Bruins in a tense and often violent Premier Division clash last night, as Simon Potter now reports.
Pirates 8, Ayr Bruins 7. A deserved win for the Peterborough side, who fought every inch of the way to claim their first victory over a Scottish side this season. The first period erupted in a frenzy of punch-ups and penalties, with 5 players getting a total of 18 minutes penalty between them in one brawl, but Pirates won that period 5-2. The rest of the match was played at a very fast and exciting pace. The second period was tied at 1-1, and the third went Ayer's way 3-2. The last 5 minutes were tense, with end-to-end pressure, and either side could have clinched a victory, but Peterborough did. Thanks to 3 goals and 2 assists from Todd Bidner, 2 and 3 for a virus-ridden Wayne Crawford, 2 and 0 for Peter Smith, 1 and 1 Tim Peacock, Norton 4 Mark Slater. Pirates 8, Ayr 7. Here's coach Gary Unger.
It's going to be tough. I mean, these two teams, as far as I'm concerned, are the best 2 teams in the league all around. Pfeiffer right up there too, but I reckon that Murrayfield and Durham are better than Fife.
Murrayfield got off to a pretty sticky start this season. Do you know much about the way they're playing?
I actually don't. Of all the teams in the league right now, the one that I haven't seen or heard about is Murrayfield. Durham we've played before. We know what they can do. Murrayfield, they always have a good, solid team, but it depends on how their imports play, because their local players are so good. In the last couple of years, their imports haven't been really top-notch imports, but they work fairly good together as a team. And then with Tony Hand on the club, it's like having 3 or 4 imports. So it's going to be a tough match. I think one of the things with Murrayfield is that they do give up a lot of chances on their own net. They've got a lot of offense, and they blitz for the net very hard, and if you're sharp, you can trap them and get a lot of 3-on-2s, 2-on-1s on them. So that's what we're hoping for this weekend.
So that's Saturday here at home, which must be an advantage. Sunday, it's back up to Durham, where you've been before. Nasty taste in the mouth after that game, wasn't there?
Well, I think we've got something to prove going back up into Durham, and I know all the guys would like to go up there and show them that the last time that in the Norwich Union Cup that it was a fluke. And I know that the practices this week have been good. The players have been keen, and this is going to be a very, very tough weekend. It's going to be very trying on everybody.
How's morale been in the camp after last weekend's terrible loss at Nottingham, but good win against Ayr here?
Well, that's the nature of the beast, I guess you would say. Sports is very difficult sometimes to figure out, and you have a weekend like we did last weekend where the game in Nottingham was really a difficult pill to swallow. But you have to overlook that. I mean, those things happen. We're still building, we're still learning, and things didn't go our way, and we just totally fell apart. The big thing about it is that we pulled back together again. We forgot about that game. It was over. Once it's over, you can't bring it back again. And we went out against Ayr, and I thought it was the most physical game we've played all year. And also, over the last 2 months, it's probably the most effort we've put in a game, the most team effort we've put in a game. We've played a lot in spurts here and there, one line going well, the other line not going well, good goaltending, bad goaltending, but not putting it all together. And I think the players worked very hard in that game for a full 60 minutes, and I think they realized that that's how the game has to be played all the time.
Hockey news, and the result from the East of England ice rink: Pirates 7, Murrayfield Racers 12. But that scoreline doesn't truly reflect the effort that Pirates put into the match. They gave all they had to give. Murrayfield won the first period 3-1, but the second period saw the most entertaining hockey from both sides. They tied it at 4 apiece to leave the score 7-5 to Murrayfield. And it looked as though the match could have gone either way, especially when Peterborough made it 8-7 early in the final period, 8-7 to Racers, that is. But sheer exhaustion overtook the home side as they valiantly battled to prove a point against the likes of Tony Hand, the man that virtually everybody recognises as the greatest British ice hockey player ever to have skated. Wayne Crawford delighted the crowd with 5 goals and 1 assist. Todd Bidner added 1 and 3, as did Peter Smith, who had a superb game, and Chris McCauley got 0 and 2. Man of the match deservedly went to Kevin King, and Jason Wood, Pirates goaltender, had a superb game too. That final score once again, Pirates 7, Murrayfield 12. Tonight's other Premier Division scores now: Fife Flyers 9, Streatham Redskins 4, Nottingham Panthers 4, Durham Wasps 12. And it's proving it impossible to find a score out from the Ayr ice rink, where the Ayr Bruins have entertained Solihull Barons tonight. Hockey result: Durham Wasps 13, Peterborough Pirates 2, and that completes a depressing weekend for the Pirates, having lost to Murrayfield Saturday night. Pirates did hold their own in the first period against Durham this evening, only losing to the home side 3-2, goals from Todd Bidner and Paul Heavey. But Durham showed their class in the other periods, winning them both 5-0. The Pirates did have their power play advantages in those 2 periods, but never once converted them into goals, whilst Durham made the most of theirs, which could well be why Durham have now gone an incredible 28 consecutive matches without losing. The Pirates have more to reflect upon than just 2 losses in a weekend, albeit against Britain's top 2 teams. The side they built on the country's top individual talents just isn't living up to its promise. Something's got to happen fast to save their hopes. Tonight's result again: Durham 13, Peterborough 2. And other results from the Premier Division this evening: Murrayfield Racers 14, Solihull Barons 2. Tayside Tigers 14, Streatham Redskins 10. And Whitley Bay Warriors 9, Ayr Bruins 7. Which all leaves Peterborough 8th in the league table, ahead of just Streatham and Solihull. Better news from the East of England ice rink for the ladies team. The Ravens, though, they beat Oxford University 5-0. Whilst the Titans in the English League Division 1, that's Peterborough's second team, of course, lost 13-6 to Bracknell Bees. Hockey with the Peterborough Pirates at home to the Solihull Barons on Sunday night. Barons have just lost their coach, Phil Ridley, who walked out in the week. And, says Pirates coach Gary Younger, morale there could be pretty low. But then again, they could feel they've got something to prove and come out and hit the Pirates hard.
Well, they're having a tough time. I feel sorry for them because I know what they're going through. It's kind of a little bit about what we went through last year. I think that I'm always afraid of teams like that because sometimes something like that binds you together and you go out there and you play like you've never played before. One of the things that you have to be careful of is looking at that game and saying, oh, this is going to be an easy game. We're going to go out there and have some fun and score a pile of goals. And before you know it, they get a couple of quick goals and you're behind the 8 ball. So I'm really not taking this game for granted on the weekend.
4th time you've played them this season, 3rd time here as well. They've changed imports a great deal, though. Do you know much about the guys they've got at the moment?
Really, I don't. I know the original Tim Flanagan I had looked at in the summertime. He is on his way out. From what I hear, the player that they're getting for him, from all intents and purposes, from the other players that I've talked to, he's not as good as Tim Flanagan. So, you get all sorts of different rumors here and there, but it is unsettling when you don't have the same imports. He's not used to playing with the players. I mean, we went through it again last year, and it's difficult.
Not a very good weekend last weekend, of course. Must have been nice to have that exhibition game on Tuesday. Get your minds off things a bit.
Well, it took a little bit of the pressure off. Those 2 games on the weekend were against the 2 best clubs in the country. There's not very many teams that beat either of those clubs. I've been looking over the statistics over the last 4 years, and both teams have finished on the top in the last 4 years. So they're very, very strong, especially Durham at home. I thought we had a chance against Murrayfield in here. We could have, had we have scored a goal, maybe when it was 8-8, Kevin King had a breakaway. If that puck had went in, it would have really given the team a lot of life. There's certain times in the game where we could have maybe scored a goal or maybe stopped a goal and got a little bit more enthusiasm. But overall, I wasn't that disappointed with the game, other than the fact that I hate to lose. You don't like to lose to anybody, but we're proving that at times we can play with these big clubs. They're still beating everybody else, so I can't get down on the fact that we are losing to them, but it's still a stepping stone that we have to get to, and we've got to beat some of those clubs.
Pirates coach Gary Younger. Now, Peterborough Pirates captain this year, Paul Heavey, was Solihull's captain last year, and he reckons that the loss of their coach in the week will have been ruinous.
Well, I don't know. What I heard tonight, the coach has actually resigned. Phil Ridley's resigned, and he was sort of holding that team together. They were still doing badly, but he was holding what they had together. And after him resigning, I don't know, they'll probably just go to pieces, If they don't resolve it and get him back there, they're never going to find a replacement within a week or 2 anyway, So I think they'll just go to pieces over the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Peterborough Pirates play the Solihull Barons at the East of England Ice Rink on Sunday. Face-off at 6 o'clock. Of course, they've changed face-off time on Sundays recently from 6:30 to 6. The Peterborough Titans, the city's second team, are away on Sunday against the Humberside Seahawks, who beat them 32-5 last time the two sides met in the Hull Rink. That was in the Autumn Trophy back in September. A touch late. And the bad news from the East of England Ice Rink is that the Heineken League Premier Division clash finished Peterborough Pirates 5, Solihull Barons 7. Disastrous night for the Pirates in a match they couldn't afford to lose. They took a 2-0 lead after just 3.5 minutes. But that's when it all turned sour. Solihull Barons hit back. Solihull have played Peterborough 3 times this year and lost 3 times. They also lost their coach this week, who walked out on them. The first period score 3-2 to Pirates. Solihull won the second 3-1 to give them a 5-4 lead, and they won the final period by 2-1 to give them that overall score of 7-5. Chris McCauley for the Peterborough Pirates had an excellent game, but one man can't keep a team together, as he found out. He played superbly, though. And that was where it finished. Solihull 7, Peterborough Pirates 5. They've obviously been practising, passing in the team during the week, but the one thing they couldn't do was finish off their moves. But to give him his credit, Solihull's goaltender Brian Cox had a superb game. Tonight's other results in the Premier Division: Murrayfield 13, Ayr 8, Streatham 7, Whitley Bay 17, Tayside 3, Nottingham 6. So no great surprises there, apart from the fact that Pirates have lost to the Solihull Barons. And that, it has to be said, on current form is a surprise win. A busy week for the Peterborough Pirates. 3 matches coming up in 6 days. Next Thursday, exhibition hockey at the East of England Ice Rink with a visit by Czech side Tesla Pardubice. But this weekend, games against Whitley Bay, who Pirates haven't faced yet this season, except for the final of the Altrincham one-day tournament, which was a bit different, and Tayside Tigers, who they have played before. Coach Gary Younger.
Yes, we played them one game up in Scotland, and we didn't really play them very well. We owe them a game. They beat us 5-4, but it wasn't the greatest game in the world as far as we were concerned. I'm looking for a strong game. Chris Newton is going to play in goal to start off, and I'm looking for a very strong game from all involved.
They ran Durham pretty close in the Norwich Union Cup final, playing well at the moment.
Yes, they are. I think that will give them a little bit of confidence. It was a close game. I didn't particularly feel that Durham had the strongest game I've seen them play in a long time, and that really has a lot of difference in how a team plays. But we have to go in there right at this particular point. Ayr, ourselves, and Durham and Tayside all have the same amount of points. So we're all around the table at the same. So the team that's going to pull ahead and win a couple of games, put a streak together, is going to be the team that steps forward, and we want to be that team.
And Whitley Bay away on Sunday. That is a team you haven't faced before.
Yes, they're a totally different team from last year. They've got some new players in there. They still have Scott Morrison, who is a top-notch player. But I feel that with the changes that we've made in our club, I feel that we can beat Whitley Bay. It's going to be tough because it is in their building, but it's going to be a good game.
You'll remember, of course, last time, or one of the games last season up there were so many penalties. Are you expecting that again this year?
Well, hopefully not. In fact, I look back to last year, it was the Whitley Bay game that was the downfall of our club from last year, because that's the game which Todd got suspended and was out for 4 or 5 games, and we were played the next 3 weeks without any imports. And at the time it happened to Todd, we were 4-4 tied with him. The game ended up, I think, 12-4 or something, but I think we can play with Whitley Bay. It's just a matter right now of confidence, and you don't get any confidence when you hear all these negative things that are said about the club. This is a time when you need the people to be behind you. You need the backing of everybody that's involved to build the players up, not to try and knock them down. Nobody wants to lose. None of our players want to lose. The problem is that you look back and you sit and watch a game and you think because they're losing, they're not trying hard. Well, you try harder in the games that you're losing. It's just that you're trying in the wrong direction, and it's not a team effort anymore. It becomes individual. And like I told the guys the other night, we're not playing tennis. We're playing hockey, and it takes all 5 guys to be pulling in the same direction. It's simple as that. Hard work and working together.
Tayside Tigers 11-9 last night in a match that seemed headed for a draw throughout. The first period was drawn 3-all, and by the end of the second it was 6-all. But Pirates took a 10-7 lead in the third before Tayside, -1 import, pulled back to 10-9 before eventually losing. Todd Bidner top scored for Pirates with 4 goals and 1 assist. Peter Smith and Wayne Crawford got 2 and 4 each. Tonight's ice hockey news. And in the Premier Division, Whitley Bay Warriors 9, Peterborough Pirates 7. A frustrating end to what had been a good game for the Pirates. The first period was tied at 2 goals apiece, but Peterborough took control of the second period, winning it 5-2, thanks in part to 2 short-handed goals from Todd Bidner. Whitley hit out hard in the final period, though, with 5 unanswered goals, dominating the match entirely after losing their goaltender with a suspected fractured collarbone. For Peterborough, Todd Bidner, 4 goals and 1 assist. Wayne Crawford 2 and 1, Peter Smith 1 and 2, Mark Slater 0 and 2. Final score again, Whitley Bay Warriors 9, Peterborough Pirates 7. Tonight's other Premier Division scores now. Durham 12, Fife 5, Solihull 5, Murrayfield 18, and Streatham 8, Tayside 6. Streatham's first league win in 14 outings this year. Congratulations, Streatham. In ice hockey, it's an important weekend for the Peterborough Pirates, away against Ayr on Saturday and away at Murrayfield on Sunday. Pirates are still looking for their first ever Premier Division win in a Scottish rink. The Murrayfield game comes at the end of a hectic week for them. They've had their 25th birthday dinner this Wednesday, a training session Thursday, a match in Holland tonight, and a game against Durham tomorrow. But first, though, comes Ayr, who might be struggling near the bottom of the table, but they're a team that worry coach Gary Younger.
Well, you look at that, we played them in here last time and we did beat them, but it's a totally different game going up there and playing in that little rink in Ayr. It's the size of a curling rink, and it's going to be a very physical game. I'm really nervous about this game because we've got the same referee, the same Swedish referee that we had the last 2 games that we had. There's hardly any turn. Even if you're trying to stay out of trouble, there's hardly any room to move. Wayne and Chris have never played in that building before, and they know how to play it. They practice in there, and they've spent a lot of time. They know the corners. They know where to shoot from, and it's very tough to go in that building and get points out of it. But we're going to have to do it.
They seem to be playing really well at the moment as well. Tuesday night they were 7-3 up against Murrayfield in a Scottish Cup game.
Yeah, they are. They're moving the puck, and I think they're starting to get their act together a little bit. They've got a pretty good club. They've got some good local talent, and they're a good Scottish club that have been in hockey for 50 years, like all these Durham and Murrayfield and Fife teams. So they've got a lot of background behind them, and they've got some good young players coming up. So it's going to be a tough game.
Talking of good Scottish teams with a long history, Murrayfield on Sunday, they don't come much tougher, do they?
No, not really. I think they're probably the best team in the country. Local talent, I mean, with Tony Han and their club, he's like another import. Scott Neal played in Canada. He's like another import. Their imports are far improved from what they were last year, so they've got a real totally all-rounded club. Their goaltender's even playing well this year, so they're going to be hard to go in there and beat. The problem going in there, too, is that you've got another different size of an ice rink. You go from a piddly pond to something that looks like... the Lake Superior. It's huge, and it's different from our rink too. So it's all these adjustments, and sometimes if you can get your adjustment over by the first period and stay even with these clubs, you can pull out. But a lot of times they blow you out in the first period, and it's too late.
But by my reckoning, Murrayfield have got something like 5 games in 7 days. They're going to be a bit worn out by the time you come to play them.
Well, we're hoping that's going to happen. I hear they're going to Holland at the end of the week, so it's going to be something where maybe they're not thinking of that being an important game for us. It's a very important game for us, but maybe they don't think it is for them. Last year we went in there and I think we had a good chance of beating them. Another thing that you got to get over when you get up into Scotland is you got Scottish referees. Hate to use that as an excuse, but I've been there too many times where you look like you've got a chance and all of a sudden you got 3 or 4 guys sitting in the penalty box. So all in all, it's going to be a tough weekend for us. Hopefully we can come up with a few points anyhow and give ourselves a little bit of a Christmas present.
This hockey team suffered their heaviest league defeat bar one in this season's campaign last night, away against the Ayr Bruins. Without Kevin King and Kenny McKee, both suspended by the club, and Chris Newton, who couldn't get the time off work and arrived late, Pirates struggled all the way, and with just 2 minutes left it was 14-4, although Peterborough did get a couple of consolation goals towards the end. Todd Bittner 2-1, Wayne Crawford 2-0, and man of the match Peter Smith 0-3.
Hockey, and in the Premier Division tonight, Peterborough Pirates playing away against top of the league Murrayfield Racers. And there's good news and bad news from Murrayfield Ice Rink. The good news is that the Pirates matched the league leaders all the way. The bad news is Murrayfield Racers won the game with just 15 seconds to go. At the end of the first period, it was 5 goals apiece. Todd Bittner had opened the scoring for the Pirates after just 6 seconds. He scored a hat-trick in that first period. The second period was won by the Racers, 5-3, and then in the final period, it was 12-all after 58 minutes. Pirates had made it 12-all, but with 15 seconds to go, Louis Hammond of the Murrayfield Racers smacked in the puck to give them a 13-12 lead. And that's how it finished. And how different from last night when Murrayfield became the first team to beat Durham Wasps in 26 matches this season, whilst Peterborough were getting themselves thrashed by the lowly Ayr Bruins. Todd Bittner, 4 goals and 3 assists for Peterborough. Peter Smith, 4-0. Wayne Crawford, 2 and 6. A good performance, but it just couldn't last. Other Premier Division scores tonight: Solihull 4, Fife 13, Tayside 10, Durham 11, Whitley 17, Streatham 7. And at the East of England Ice Rink, Peterborough Titans 9, Oxford City Stars 20.
Hills and valleys, I think you could really say. Started out good. Mainly the reason was, we played a lot of teams like Slough and Solihull and First Division teams, and I think we just too lackadaisical, and as it was when we hit the big teams, we weren't prepared. Now we're a little more prepared. As we went into Whitley, we didn't play 3 periods, we got beat, but we know we can beat teams like that, and we have to play 3 periods, and I think we know we can beat any team, and we just have to play 3 periods.
And Wayne Crawford.
I think it came better a little bit tonight. There's still some ways to go. Some players are still, fighting themselves, getting a little bit of confidence with themselves and the team. And it's a steady hill right now. And hopefully things have changed around and it'll be more competitive game in and game out.
So midway through your first season in British hockey, how are you taking to it?
I think I've coming around a little bit more than at the start of the year. I've overcome a few, personal things. It's, I used to get a little upset with the referee and this and that, and, it distracted me from the game, and it, took away, the other people on the team. And the British hockey has come a long way. It hasn't been here that long, and, they've a lot of people make sacrifices and a lot of commitments to make it go, and I hope it, sees a lot more years ahead.
Thirdly, Chris McCauley.
I think it's been a good year for me. I would have liked to contributing more on the offense for our team in terms of more goals, but I've just been concentrating on the defensive aspect of the game and trying to keep our own zone clear and not to have too many breakdowns. But I'm enjoying it. It hasn't been easy. We've had our ups and downs, but I think if we keep persevering and working hard and start to really work to gel as a team, that I think we could do some good things in 88, because we do have a lot of talent on our team.
Threw away a golden opportunity in their Premier Division match at home against bottom-of-the-table Streatham Redskins last night. Having led 8-2 at one stage, Peterborough relaxed to let the visitors pull back to a 10-all tie, with the equalising goal coming in the last minute. Wayne Crawford scored 4 goals in the first period for the Pirates, but nothing more than a secondary assist in the rest of the match. Peter Smith, the only consistently good forward, got 3 and 2, Todd Bidner 1 and 6. An excellent game for defenceman Grant Slater and man of the match Kenny MacDonald, but not enough for victory. It was a poor showing for the Pirates. As well as posh in the week, at home against bottom-of-the-league Streatham, the Pirates led 8-2 before struggling to salvage a draw out of the game. As a result, changes are afoot, with coach Gary Younger looking to sign a new goaltender, as we'll hear shortly.
We seem to get caught up in ups and downs. We seem to play better against teams when we're close, when we're in the game all the time, one goal in, one goal out, like when we played against Murrayfield, we played against Whitley Bay, when we have to stay on our toes all the time. When we seem to get too far ahead on teams, we tend to think that, we don't have to work as hard, and I think that's what happened on Sunday, besides the fact of Streatham had played over the Christmas break. I think that had a lot to do with it, because our players got tired as the game went on. But we tend to sit back when we get a pretty good lead, and sometimes when you got a team like, you got to give Streatham credit, they never quit. They came back, they scored some pretty good goals, and they kept coming and coming. It would have been easy for them to quit, but they didn't. But I think as far as morale on the team is concerned, nobody has ever doubted the fact that we're going to make the playoffs. And we're scoring. I mean, we scored 22 goals in the last 2 games, and we've come out with 1 point. That shouldn't happen. To be quite honest with you, I have to look at the goaltending situation. I have been talking to some other goaltenders, and I have talked to our own goaltenders, so it's not something that they don't know. But I'm very concerned with our goaltending right at this particular point.
What about training this week? Have you had some pretty hard sessions?
Yeah, we skated quite a bit on Tuesday night. We've got a practice again on Thursday night, which is going to be hard, and I shouldn't really say anything because this is going on the air Friday, so I blew that one.
So let's look forward to the weekend then. 2 games, Solihull away, Whitley at home. 4 points?
Well, I think this is the biggest weekend of the season. I think we've got a chance here to get 4 points. I mean, we have to play with intensity. We have to bring up our workload. I don't think we're lacking anything in knowledge and knowing what to do. It's just going out there and saying, I want to win worse than this other team that we're playing, and work harder. It all goes down to work ethics. And if you look at it any other way, there's not an awful lot of difference in most of the teams that are playing in the Premier Division. It's just that some teams work harder than others.
Pirates coach Gary Younger's in doubt today following several days of talks. A lot of disquiet's built up amongst the players, and although his post as assistant manager at the ice rink's in no doubt, he might soon part company.
Hereward Radio Sport.
Where you hear the big local sporting stories first. Good morning, this is Simon Potter at the Sports Desk. And what a day it was for local sport yesterday. The Panthers captain quit, the Pirates coach was fired. Pirates ice hockey team avoided a team revolt yesterday by sacking Gary Younger as their coach. And then they went on to lose 8-6 away against the Solihull Barons. Without Unger on the bench, the Pirates were determined but disorganised, but kept the game close for the first two periods. It was 5-all at one stage before Solihull took an 8-5 lead the Pirates couldn't overturn. Tonight, the side are at home to the Whitley Bay Warriors, who only narrowly beat them in their own rink a month ago. Forward Kenny MacDonald reckons it's going to be a great game.
I think with us going up there and playing them just before Christmas and having a good game against them, I think it's going to be one of the best games you're going to see in Peterborough.
News, and in the Premier Division tonight, Peterborough Pirates 5, Whitley Bay Warriors 6. It was the most sensational game of ice hockey you'll ever see in Peterborough, as Pirates striker Kenny MacDonald had predicted, speaking on Hereward this morning. With coach Gary Unger gone, Pirates were in determined mood, like they've only been twice all season, when they became the first team not to be beaten by Durham. That was in the English Cup final, and when they became the first team ever to score 12 goals in Murrayfield. Whitley won the first period 3-2 and won the second 3-2 as well. But in the third, it was Pirates all the way, but they just couldn't breach the goaltender. It was a game of goalkeepers. Both played superbly and both won their respective Man of the Match award. 17-year-old Jason Wood was nothing short of brilliant for the Pirates, but Whitley's Peter Graham was nothing short of miraculous. Their defence wasn't too good, but their goaltender was just unbelievable and unbeatable too. A good game for Todd Bidner with 3 goals and 1 assist, and also Chris McCauley, who was, as always, great in defence, and Grant Slater too. Sensational game then, the final score, Pirates 5, Whitley Bay 6. Other Premier Division scores tonight, Murrayfield 12, Nottingham 8, Solihull 7, Durham 9, and Tayside 9, Streatham 10. Bit of a surprise in the bottom of the table clash. Bad news though for Peterborough in the English League Division 1, Bracknell Bees 32, Peterborough Titans 7. The disquiet amongst the players threatened to boil over. The first that most people knew of the matter was at the Saturday night match away at Solihull when Unger was nowhere to be seen. Directors of the club were reluctant to say anything publicly at the game, but by Sunday night, Chairman Peter Gamble had a brief and formal statement prepared.
As from the above date, which was the 7th of January, Gary Unger, head coach of the Peterborough Pirates, has had his role within the club redefined. He will continue with his managerial role in a different capacity to that of the recent past, in order that the club can continue to make use of his knowledge and experience.
The coaching duties will be taken over by the trio of Canadians at the club and captain Paul Heavey, with Chris McCauley taking a dominant role.
I've had some coaching experience myself at different hockey schools in Canada. And, I had been the captain of a hockey team at my university for a couple of years, and I've worked closely with our coach there. So, I feel that I've got some good input into helping the players here in Peterborough and helping the team realize its potential.
It was apparently the players more than the management of the club who'd forced Unger out, although they weren't entirely unanimous in their mood. Defenceman Mark Slater.
Well, it's debatable. Some people are happy, some people are sad. It's 50-50.
Gary Unger was a legend in his native Canada, where he earned the nickname Iron Man after making 1,100 appearances in the NHL, the world's most famous ice hockey league, in a career spanning 16 years. After some time working as a consultant in the oil industry after he retired, he returned to the game to play in Britain. A season in Dundee was followed by 2 in Peterborough, and he finally hung up his skates at the end of last season after scoring the important goal that kept Pirates in the Premier Division of the British League. The transformation from star player to coach, though, was a difficult one, and one which apparently never worked out.
Well, hopefully if we get a little bit more luck in front of the goal, and we'll all put the same effort that we're putting tonight, hopefully, you never know, we might get a good result.
Your brother Grant's coming on really well in the last month or so. Must be proud of him.
Yeah, I'm really proud of him. He wasn't getting the luck or that in front of the goal, so Gary moved him back to defence, and he's fitted in really well. I think he's actually playing better than I am.
How's morale in the team at the moment now Gary's gone?
Well, it's debatable. Some people are happy, some people are sad. It's 50-50.
And in the Heineken League Premier Division, Peterborough Pirates 10, the Durham Wasps 11. And for the 6th time this season, Pirates have lost by 1 goal after dominating most of the play. The first period was tied at 3 apiece, but in the second, Durham came out hard and scored 3 quick goals in 42 seconds, which is what won them the match. 10-7 to Durham after the second period, but Pirates weren't giving up and came so close to levelling the score. Todd Bidner was superb, with 5 goals and 4 assists, Wayne Crawford 3 and 3, and a terrific game for Chris McCauley too. But the overriding memory of the game will be referee Taylor. He disallowed an obvious Pirates goal at one stage, but after that allowed 3 different goals for both sides, which blatantly hadn't gone in. For the second consecutive report, I have to say it was a sensational match, but if only Lady Luck would smile on Peterborough for a change. The final score, Pirates 10, Durham Wasps 11. Results now from the rest of the country in the Premier Division. Ayr 12, Tayside 8. Nottingham 11, Murrayfield 3. Would you believe it? Murrayfield, had they won that match today, would have set a new Premier Division record of 15 consecutive wins. But it wasn't to be. Nottingham play Peterborough tomorrow at the Peterborough Rink. And Streatham 7, Whitley Bay Warriors 23. Ice hockey team slumped to their 7th successive match without a win last night, going down to the Nottingham Panthers 8-5. Pirates matched the visitors for the first 2 periods, 2-1 down after the first, 3-3 after the second, but it was during the last 20 minutes that Nottingham showed their class. Superb game for Tim Peacock and man of the match Chris McCauley with 3 goals between them, and Mike Andrews was having a superb game before picking up a match penalty for a deliberate attempt to injure call. More bad news for the Pirates in the fact that Ayr, the team Pirates are fighting most for the 6th playoff space, beat Whitley in the Geordies' home rink last night, winning 14-9 to put them 9 points clear of Peterborough. Pirates ice hockey team played as hard as they could last weekend, but luck was against them. In fact, just like the Posh, Pirates have now lost 4 consecutive matches, although in 3 of those they've had more shots on goal than the opposition. This weekend it's away against Fife and Tayside, both of whom beat Pirates by 1 goal, 10-9 and 5-4, last time they played in Scotland. Player coach Chris McCauley.
Well, I haven't been following Fife that closely, but from what I have heard of them, it does seem to be that way. I mean, they're obviously in the top part of the league, but they're a bit below Durham and Murrayfield or whatever. But I think the last time we played them, we lost 10-9. And, we had a lot of scoring opportunities. It was a real offensive game. So, I feel they're more like a team like Murrayfield, where they're very offensive-minded and they just don't worry too much about the defense. So, I think that we've got a chance against them.
Tayside is another side you had a very close game against last time you were up in Scotland, 6-5 or 5-4 as I remember it. Must be another side you can beat.
Yes, that last road trip up there, we lost 10-9 to Fife and 5-4 to Tayside. And, I feel and I think, and along with the rest of the team, that we have the ability to beat both sides. What's going to happen this weekend remains to be seen, but, we do have some injuries and suspensions going into the weekend, but I still feel that the general feeling is an optimistic one.
So Mike Andrews is out, obviously suspended. Paul Heavey, I take it, won't be playing. Is anybody else out through injury?
Tentatively, Mark Slater, I believe, is out. He's having a cast put on his wrist, but his playing status as to this point is tentative.
The ice hockey team were thrashed 14-4 by the Fife Flyers last night. Pirates were without defenceman Paul Heavey and Mike Andrews and goaltender Jason Wood, which made them easy prey for the Scots. The Peterborough side, though, gave away far too many penalties, losing Peter Smith to a match penalty in the second period and having 5 men in the sin bin at the 50-minute mark. 2 quick goals for Pirates in the last 2 minutes saved them from their heaviest defeat of the year, but it's now 9 matches without a win for the city side. The ice hockey team lost their 6th consecutive match last night, going down 5-4 away against the Tayside Tigers, for whom it was only the first win in 11 outings. Pirates won the first period 3-1 and had then taken a 4-2 lead before Tayside scored the winner with 3.5 minutes to go. Todd Bidner scored 2 goals and 1 assist. Wayne Crawford also got 2 and 1, but picked up a 10-minute misconduct for verbal abuse against the referee as the game drew to a close. Pirates have now played all 3 bottom clubs since Christmas, losing to 2 of them and being held to a draw by the other. Hockey side go into the weekend's fixtures with a new sense of determination. There's been a week of tough talking at the rink after the Premier Division team went for 10 matches without a win. Sunday's game at home ought to be a win as Pirates go out for revenge against Tayside, who narrowly beat them in Scotland just last weekend. On Saturday, though, it's away at Whitley Bay. Player coach Chris McCauley.
I mean, the way things have been going for us, I really don't like to make any predictions, but I mean, we really are working hard, and the fellas are giving it 100%. And all I can say is that we'll just do our best, and hopefully that it'll be good enough.
Let's put the past behind us for the moment. Nobody wants to think back over the last couple of weeks. But how's training been going? Say Thursday night you had a session. How was that?
Training.
How's training been going? Oh, training's been going fine.
Sunday night then, Tayside coming back here. You really owe them revenge after last weekend, don't you?
Well, I think that with those guys, I mean, like I said before, that we're doing our utmost to play well. We've had some injuries, and we just seem to make some mental mistakes of a team that's young and inexperienced, and perhaps that may be some of our downfalls. We don't quite have the experience in the Premier League. You're getting into a situation where it's not just a senior team or a men's team. It's a full-time job, the commitment, and sometimes we just don't seem to be up to the mental psych aspect of the game, and we do tend to make some bad mistakes.
So Mike Andrews will be out on Saturday, the third game of his suspension.
Yeah.
Is anybody else suspended at the moment? A couple of major penalties last weekend.
No one is suspended, as far as I know, by the league.
What about injuries? Mark Slater's obviously still hurt with his arm.
Mike's been hurting, and actually it's probably a miracle that he is even playing the last couple of weeks. He's a very rugged individual, and deserves all the credit even to be on the ice and to be showing up at this point. But his arm's coming along fine, and I think that he'll be in better shape this weekend.
Must be worth his weight in gold, that player.
Yes, he is. He's not that heavy, but he is worth his weight in gold.
Anybody else with any niggling injuries from the last weekend or not?
I think we're pretty well fine in the injury department. Sometimes we just don't have the depth, and last weekend we seem to have that problem.
Chris McCauley of the Pirates. News. And the Peterborough Pirates have suffered their 11th consecutive match without a win, losing 18-7 away against the Whitley Bay Warriors. Whitley won the first period 7-0 before extending their lead to 9-0 before Pirates scored their first goal. 14-4 after the second period, with the final 20 minutes going 4-3 to Whitley. Todd Bidner top scored with 1 goal and 5 assists. Wayne Crawford 2 and 3. Peter Smith 2 and 1. Chris McCauley 1 and 2. Kenny McKee 1 and 0. Whitley were at full strength, despite the previous week's bench clearance in their match against Ayr, which had resulted in 160 minutes in penalties for that one incident alone. I understand that Whitley had a meeting with the BIHA, the British Ice Hockey Association, on Friday night, in which they explained that the whole thing had been an accident, and none of Whitley's players got any bans. Their coach, Terry Matthews, though, was banned from the bench. A few other scores in already tonight, quite a few missing still, but in the Premier Division, Ayr 6, Murrayfield 11 and Nottingham 16, Tayside 2. Peterborough Pirates at home against the Tayside Tigers tomorrow night. Last time those two sides met in Peterborough, the Pirates won. Last time they met in Tayside, just last weekend, Tayside won by 5-4. And one result from Division 1, Slough 7, Cleveland 4. The rest of the results just aren't to hand yet, I'm afraid. Some interesting ice hockey news from London, and bottom of the Premier Division Streatham Redskins have released top import Kurt Wickenheiser, fueling speculation that former Pirates coach Gary Younger might move south to join the Redskins. Wickenheiser says he wants to stay in British ice hockey. Whereas ice hockey team were at their brilliant best last night as they picked up only their first win since December the 10th, and their third biggest ever win in the Premier Division, beating Tayside by 10-5. Wayne Crawford scored 4 goals and 2 assists, including his 100th league point of the season. Todd Bidner got 2 and 5, whilst there was also a hat-trick for Peter Smith and the first league goal for defenceman Mark Slater. Man of the match Jason Wood had an excellent game in goal, with good performances too for Jason Porter and, as always, Chris McCauley. Pirates ice hockey team this week. Kevin King's moved to the Humberside Seahawks on loan for the rest of this season. Paul Heavy's stepped down as captain, and Todd Bidner's taken over the main coaching responsibility. This weekend sees a lot of miles on the road for the Pirates, away at top of the league Durham on Saturday, and away against bottom of the Premier Division Streatham on Sunday. So I asked Todd Bidner, what are the team's chances this weekend? Saturday ought to be a tough game, although Durham struggled to beat First Division Cleveland in a cup match midweek, but Sunday ought to be different.
Well, there we go. If we can salvage 2 points out of each weekend from the rest of the year, then we're going to be sitting pretty good. I can't say that we're going to, make a good bid for the playoff run, but, other teams can have an unfortunate, fault too. If Ayr slips down or, a couple teams like that. Looks like Nottingham's playing really well right now. So we just keep plodding along, and at the end of the year, I think we're going to have to reevaluate everybody. And that means imports, British players, the whole lot, and just see, exactly what people are worth,
Speaking Sunday night, you might not have heard by now, but Nottingham have beaten Durham in Durham's own rink. Can you do the same this coming weekend?
They seem to me, well, they lost 2 games this weekend, Durham have, so, maybe we'll catch them on a bad run right now, and hopefully we can go for 4 points next weekend if that's the case. All we can do is just give 100% and try and keep everybody happy. It's very hard for me to play, for me playing especially, and then trying to, coach the guys and tell who's going out on the ice and this and that. And I know guys get upset and all this stuff, but it really, it would really help me if the guys took it upon themselves to go out there and give 100% and play by example, and show the other guys, I'm giving 100%, now it's your turn to give 100% and work for each other.
Lost for the 8th time this season by a single goal, this time going down to league leaders Durham by 10 goals to 9, despite leading by 9 goals to 7 at one stage. Pirates had set out to play defensively, and that threw Durham. The locals up there tell me that Nottingham did exactly the same last weekend when they inflicted the Wasps' worst ever home defeat. Pirates without their 2 leading British players as well, Peter Smith, who's suspended by the club, and Mark Slater, carrying an injury in virtually every conceivable limb. Also no Paul Heavey, of course, with a long-term injury, and Kevin King's just moved to join the Humberside Seahawks. It was 3-1 to Durham in the first period, and then they took a 6-2 lead at one stage during the second, before Pirates pulled it back to be 7-all, just 9 seconds before the end of the second period. And that was quite a controversial goal. The puck had slid underneath Durham keeper Chris Salem, and Dave Anderson cleared it from the line, but the referee said it was a goal. The third period saw Pirates take a 9-7 lead at one stage. A hat-trick for Tim Peacock, and also 4 goals for Todd Bidner. But Durham fought back, putting on all the pressure in the last 10 minutes, scoring the final goal at 57-37, a goal that had hit the crossbar across the top of the goal and bounced out, but it was allowed. Pirates outshot Durham by 39-29 despite losing, and they didn't take a minute in penalties. Quite astounding, that. Just 6 minutes in penalties for Durham. Todd Bidner 3-2, Tim Peacock 3-0, Wayne Crawford 2-4, Kenny McKee 1-1, Kenny MacDonald, Jason Porter, Grant Slater 0-1 each. Other scores tonight in the Premier: Nottingham 10, Whitley 1. In Division 1, Slough 7, Richmond 7, Swindon 15, Glasgow 9. Pirates face a trip to bottom of the Premier Division, Streatham Redskins. Before Christmas, Pirates beat Streatham twice, but in their first match of 1989 squandered an 8-2 lead to be held to a 10-all draw. So, says import Wayne Crawford, who got himself a major penalty last time the sides met, they're out for revenge tonight.
We still have a little bad taste in our mouth from our game in January 2nd with winning 8-2 and a 10-10 draw and my escapades on the ice. And so I like to, put that all aside and go and play hard hockey and win the game. Pirates ice hockey side picked up a point away against Streatham last night, despite a referee who was seemingly intent on handing out as many penalties as possible. In all, he gave out 89 minutes worth. Pirates didn't pick up a minute on Saturday, and the matches were just as physical as each other. Pirates lost the first period 4-3 and then trailed 7-4 before drawing level at 7-all in the last minute of the second period. Streatham, though, took a 9-7 lead in the third before Pirates tied the match at 10-all. Todd Bidner led by example. He scored 6 goals. Pirates at home against the mighty Murrayfield Racers, currently second in the Premier Division, as opposed to Pirates 7th on Sunday night. That match co-sponsored by Hereward Radio. Last Saturday, Pirates only lost to league leaders Durham 10-9 in Durham's rink, with the winning goal being a disputed one. The puck hit the piping across the top of the goal and bounced off, but was allowed. You'll have to excuse the background noise, I'm afraid. I interviewed player coach Todd Bidner in the bar at Streatham Ice Rink last Sunday after Pirates had drawn there 10-all.
It didn't go in. Well, I was shaking hands through the line with the Durham players, and Dave Anderson, who I know, said there's no way that goal is in. He felt bad about it because we deserved a point. We deserved a point up in Durham, and we played well. And we never had a penalty all night. We played a good, sound game. Tonight we come here and we have 89 minutes in penalties.
You've run Murrayfield close in the past. They're coming down to Peterborough this coming weekend. You've just run Durham close as well. Can you at last pull off the shock result of the season and beat the Racers?
Yeah, I think the attitude's right, and everybody's heart's in the right place. I think with the guys, the way they're going, and they know everybody's going to play. A couple players have left, or players left, Kevin King, and it just makes it a lot easier to change lines, and it's a lot comfortable feeling for guys that are sitting on the bench.
Proud to get together to sponsor Premier Division Ice Hockey. The Peterborough Silver Spoon Pirates take on the mighty Murrayfield Racers this Sunday at 6. Be there. And in the Premier Division of the British League tonight, the Peterborough Pirates played the Murrayfield Racers at the East England Ice Rink in a match co-sponsored by Hereward Radio. The final result, Peterborough Pirates 10, the Murrayfield Racers 14. In the first period, the Murrayfield Racers took a 2-0 lead through Paul Pentland and Scott Neal before Pirates made it 2-2 with 2 goals in just 5 seconds. Wayne Crawford and Timmy Peacock scoring those goals. Murrayfield took it to 5-2 though, before the end of that first period, Louis Harmon, Scott Neal and Tony Hand getting those 3 additional goals. The second period opened with 2 goals for the Pirates, Tim Peacock and Kenny MacDonald, pulling it back to 5-4. 2 from Luke Beausoleil, a power play from Scott Neal, 1 from Callum Hastings made it 9-4 to the Racers. Murrayfield all over Pirates, who had a poor defence in the second period. But Peter Smith and a short-handed goal from Todd Bidner drew it back to 9-6 before Scott Neal's 4th goal made it 10-6 to Racers before the end of the second period. In the third period, Racers opened with 3 unanswered goals, 2 from Scott Neal and 1 from Chris Kelland, making it 13-6. Pirates looked dead and buried. But Todd Bidner, Chris McCauley and Mike Andrews drew it back to 13-9. That goal for Mike Andrews, his first this season, before Luke Beausoleil and Todd Bidner scored 1 for each side, making it 14-10 by the end of the match. Men of the match, Tim Peacock for the Pirates, Luke Beausoleil for Murrayfield. The period scores 5-2 to Racers, 5-4 to Racers, 4 apiece. Sensible refereeing saw continuous flowing play. Pirates picking up 6 points in penalties, the Racers 2. The other Sunday night results now, Durham 7, 5, 9. Bit of a shock there for top of the league Durham. Solihull 8, Tayside 8. And Whitley Bay 15, Streatham 2. At home against top of the league Durham. The sides drew 7-7 in Peterborough in the Norwich Union Cup final just before Christmas, and last time they met in Peterborough after that game, Durham only won 11-10. Last time the two sides played was in Durham's rink, and quite recently, when Durham won 13-12, with the winning goal being a very dubious one. It actually hit the goalpost and bounced out, but was allowed. To talk about the weekend, defenceman Mike Andrews, who scored against Murrayfield last week, his first goal of the season, which reminded him of those days when he was the Pirates' leading British goal scorer.
Long time coming as well. I've been having nightmares just recently of finishing the season with 0 in the goals column. You know, sleepless nights. But yeah, it's a good goal. I think they'll look better from the point because they've got further to go than these little chipping ones in front of the net. But yes, brings back memories of being leading British goal scorer. But those were the days when I played up front. So.
Do you miss playing miss playing up front at the moment?
I'd love to have a crack at it. The last time I played was when Gary put me up there. The first game we played at Whitley Bay, we lost 9-7, and we'd got a couple of spare players on. Me and Carl playing spare, and Carl wasn't having a particularly good game, and Gary put me up front, and I was hustling. I tended to be slightly on the defensive side because of my defensive game, but I got in there, had a couple of scoring opportunities, but it still didn't come.
So this coming Sunday, Durham, never rains but it pours after Murrayfield, second in the league, Durham top of the league. You owe them one, don't you?
We owe them more than one. Durham don't like playing down here. We always have a close game with Durham, especially after the 7-7 tie in the Norwich Union Cup. But you know, they pipped us by 1 last time. They pipped us by 1 up in their place of all places. But we certainly owe them more than 1, and hopefully next week, you know, we could run them well because they've been going on a dodgy spell. So we'll try and catch them back on their heels.
The ice hockey team squandered 2 good leads against the league leaders Durham last night in going down 11-6 at home. The Pirates took a 3-1 lead in the first period and were 5-3 up during the second before the Big Blue Machine took the upper hand. Wayne Crawford top scored with 4 goals and 1 assist. Man of the match Grant Slater got Norton 4, Todd Bidner 1 and 2, and Kenny McKee the other goal. Pirates this evening at home against the Fife Flyers. Last time the sides played in Peterborough, 5-1, 9-7. Import Chris McCauley's dearly hoping that at long last the Peterborough side will be able to turn the tables on the Scots, who had a comfortable 14-6 victory over Streatham last night.
Well, I hope so. You know, I haven't been. I wouldn't want to make any predictions about it. The way this year we've had our trials and tribulations, and you know, we haven't managed to get a victory, and it's been pretty discouraging. So, no, I really hope with all my heart that we do have a a victory because I think the fans in Peterborough deserve one.
Scotland this weekend is their season, their most successful ever in the Premier Division, draws to a close. On Saturday they face the Ayr Bruins. Last time they played, only last weekend, the match ended in a big punch-up with Pirates winning 9-7. Then on Sunday it's a game against Murrayfield. Last time they played, up in Murrayfield, Pirates only lost 13-12, with the deciding goal coming just 15 seconds from time. Looking forward to the weekend, import Wayne Crawford of the Pirates. But first, a word about last weekend, recorded in Solihull's bar after that terrible match last Sunday. We'll start, though, with a word about their good win over Ayr.
Very good. I mean, when we win, it's a team effort. We never have one individual wins or loses a game, and everybody pulled their own weight. We had great goaltending. From the defense to the forwards, it was a good all-around effort, and, the final product was a win.
So what happened Sunday here at Solihull?
Sunday was a letdown, especially coming from a high from Saturday night. We expected to, looking at a 4-point weekend, which hasn't happened this year. And, we just came out like gangbusters. We were up 2-0 in the first 5 minutes, and then we thought it was going to be an easy win because they've been struggling, and we thought, just put the sticks out and, they won't come back. And before we knew it, we had a couple of penalties, and we were down 6-2.
OK, let's look forward to the weekend coming up. A double-header up in Scotland. Towards the end of the season, nothing to lose now. You're all out for a couple of wins?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, we always, I feel we always go to a game, wanting to win. It's tough in there. They have, smaller ice surface, and, it could be an interesting game after the end of Saturday's game. And when our last game, we had a little heartbreaker in Murrayfield last time. We lost 12-11 in the last 10-12 seconds. And we certainly want to go there with good respect. We don't want to go out and get blown out. So, certainly play for a little bit of pride, and hopefully, some good things will come of it.
Air game looks like being a real bruiser, doesn't it?
It's certainly got the match up to that. It's, we've had a couple of run-ins with them, 3 games this year so far, and they are a physical team. And I think at times we play a little physical, and apart from what happened, the way the game ended on Saturday, I would expect a little bit of rough stuff coming up in there.
Pirates import Wayne Crawford. Ice hockey team lost at Ayr last night by 11 goals to 3. Pirates were missing import Todd Bidner and Grant Slater through injury, and after 14 minutes of play lost top scorer Wayne Crawford and Tim Peacock for the rest of the match after a fight broke out. Without so many key players, the City side were outclassed with goals from Kenny McKee, Kenny McDonald and Mike Andrews. Tonight the Pirates play Murrayfield, who suffered a shock loss against bottom of the table Streatham last night. Tim Peacock will be out, suspended. The ice hockey team came close to their worst loss of the season last night as they faced the Murrayfield Racers up in Edinburgh. Without Todd Bidner, Grant Slater and Tim Peacock, Pirates struggled and were 8-0 down going into the last minute of the first period. It was 15-3 after the second period, but the Racers eased off in the last 20 minutes, their imports getting very little ice time, and Peterborough won that final period 6-3 to make the overall score 18-9.